What's up, ladies? It's your boy Doc Reid back out here in these relationship streets. All right, I got a good one for y'all today. Ooh, I'm excited to get into it. But before I do that, y'all know how we do. Go on out there and get your free copy of the Forbidden Secrets of the Goodie Box, what your father didn't tell you and your mother did not know. I was given the suggestion a little while ago, a couple of days ago, from a former client of mine to do a group coaching around the Forbidden Secrets of the Goodie Box. And I said, you know what? That makes like total sense, right? So I know many of you have downloaded it for free because it is free on my website, christopherreid.org, in the PDF or the Kindle version. And if that sounds like something that would interest you, let me know. And I can look into putting that together and letting you know how much it'll be and what it will consist of and how I'll break it down and all of that. So let me know. All right. Whew, today. Listen, last week I talked about how no matter what happens, you're a diamond. Y'all know that if you've been following me, where's my diamond? If you've been following me, you know that I use this as the symbol to represent you as a woman. Okay? Self-explanatory. Look at it. It just goes without saying. You know, it's beautiful. It's tough. It's highly desired. It's valuable. All of that. So when I talked about that last week and I said, no matter what happens, no matter what people think about you, no matter what you have achieved in life, it doesn't matter, doesn't subtract from who you are. Well, someone sent me a question, and this is one of the best questions that I have received in a long time. Normally, the questions that I get are pretty much similar in nature, because there's only so many situations when it comes to relationships, right? So, but this one, the question basically was, if I have cheated, does that still mean that I'm a diamond? And I was like, oh my God, that is so beautiful. And immediately I felt, I would say, the pain, where this question was coming from. And the reason I say that is if you have to ask, and I believe that there's probably quite a few of you out there that have dealt with this same situation in one way or another. If you have to ask, okay, I understand that these people, these women might be diamonds because, they didn't do this, but I can't be a diamond. I can't be valuable because I've done this. Well, let's talk about that. Because if you have to ask the question, if you have truly been forgiven, or what you've done is forgivable, then that means that somewhere inside of you, there's some guilt. So let's look at this scenario with cheating, because normally when we talk about cheating, we normally talk about how men are no good and they are dirty, and and men have done a lot of things to not to have such a good reputation when it comes to relationships. I get that. However, there are some situations and some realities out here, ladies, where women have done some things that you have regretted as well. So let's talk about what typically leads up to a woman cheating oftentimes. Sometimes when a woman feels like she's ignored, she has tried to get the attention of her significant other over and over and over and over again, and she no longer feels valued and special. Sometimes that can create a situation where she's very vulnerable and she's yearning and crying out for some form of attention. Most of the time it's not sexual, and that's not really the desire at all. It's just for somebody to show me that, hey, I mean something. And at one time whoever you're with, boyfriend, husband, whatever, was showing you all of that, but something happened, and like I said, you felt like no matter what you were saying, your requests were falling on deaf ears. So you were vulnerable to what happened, okay? And so that's one scenario. There could be a situation where, maybe there was some form of emotional, mental, physical abuse, and, that somewhat, I'm not going to say drove you into the arms of someone else, but there again, like being ignored, you sought out maybe an emotional safe haven, and one thing led to another, and bada boom, bada bing. Okay. And I'm just going through different scenarios here because I know not everybody falls into the same category. For some of you, it wasn't even really a physical thing. It was an emotional affair. Okay, and those ladies, those right there can be oftentimes way more powerful than a physical affair. And so there again, it could have been for whatever reason that you felt like your emotional needs were not being met. Maybe you felt like in your relationship, all the conversations became more about, things that were like the bills and, all of the stuff that you have to do. And, it never felt like, you felt like you lost yourself. Okay. And oftentimes emotional affairs, in my experience of hearing about them, is that it's not something that you really even saw coming. It really kind of evolved out of some form of what you would have considered just a friendship or a work wife or work husband, that person that you could just kind of chop it up with. And those conversations really, they really didn't want anything from you. They were never tugging on you and pulling on you and asking you to do this and do that. It seemed like they were more so pouring into you. And before you know it, you had that one encounter that you knew that some kind of electric spark had happened, and it was kind of like, oh, wow. They felt it, you felt it, kind of past the point of no return. And like I said, this might have never gone physical, but you found yourself in a situation where you was like, I don't know how I can break this soul tie that I've developed with this person. And oftentimes, you may have been in a relationship with a great guy. Your boyfriend, husband, or whatever may be an amazing dude. He could have been, and now this is a scenario that maybe doesn't get a lot of attention. Could have been a guy who slices and dices, and he did it all. But there could have been some abuse from your past that really never got dealt with. There could have been some molestation, some rape, or something like that in your childhood that it set up this very perverted way of seeing things. All right, and so you felt like you were being pulled and tugged along by your desires and your urges more than you felt like you had any control over them. And you couldn't justify it. You couldn't make any sense out of it. You knew that you shouldn't have been doing it. But there again, you were just like being led along. Okay, stay with me because I'm going somewhere. And so for many of you who have found yourself in this situation, now I do acknowledge that some people just flat out say, I'm going to do this, I'm going to cheat, and just like that's the goal and that's the target. Okay. But for some of you, this was not your goal. This was not what you set out to do. Okay. And so as a result of that, it has created a lot of guilt, a lot of shame, a lot of condemnation that you feel around this. It happened. You're very remorseful, but now you feel like you're tainted goods. And whether you have shared this with the person that you cheated on or whether you have not, because let's just be honest now, there's a lot of things that a lot of people have done and that it just maybe be between you and God. You might not have told your friends. You might not have told anyone because it's just too much shame associated with it. And like I said, you're like, I never thought I would do anything like that. And so, and let me be very clear. Okay. First of all, I'm not saying in any way, shape or form that cheating on someone is a cool thing. It's a good thing. What I'm saying is it's a thing that happens. Okay. Regardless of how you feel about it, it does happen. Okay. So after it has happened, now what? Okay. Because we understand that, whoever is being cheated on. And see, some of you are listening to this or watching this, and you've been on the receiving end. See, you've been cheated on. So you know how that feels. You know how much pain is associated with that. You know what that can do to your self-esteem. You know how that can just totally tear you down. So you see this from a whole nother perspective, and I totally get that. However, like I said, there's another side of the coin that I'm looking at to see what's going on there. What really leads up to that. So at the end of the day, if you have indeed cheated, then I would say that you have made a mistake. Okay. And whether you made the mistake knowingly or unknowingly, it's still a mistake. Okay. And I'm going to explain why I view it that way. Okay. And let's keep in mind here what's really going on. Okay. The enemy definitely has conned you, has seduced you, all right, into taking a certain course of action that's got you out here or has had you out here. And you're like, oh my God, what was I thinking? So as a result of that, you can't move forward. And when I say you can't move forward, you're stuck right there. Just like the young lady that asked me, okay, am I still a diamond? You cannot in any way say, well, how in the world can you say, I hear what you're saying, Doc, but how can you say I'm this beautiful, amazing thing when I've done something that's so hurtful, that has caused so much damage? And I also want to include in this cheating category those of you who have been with married men. Okay, maybe you didn't cheat, so to speak, on your particular, boyfriend or husband, but you cheated on somebody who was married or whatever. It's all the same because the residue is pretty much the same. Okay, someone potentially got really hurt as a result of something that you were a part of, and your feelings of guilt and shame associated with that are very real and very intense. Okay, so I just wanted to include that. Okay, so let's talk about this thing of, is it really a mistake if you meant to do it? Well, here's the deal. I don't think that even if you meant to do it, it's still a mistake. And the reason I say that is this. Jesus said, when they strung him up on the cross and he was hanging there just as naked as the day he was born, bleeding out of, all over the place. He said, listen, forgive them, for they know not what they do. So if you were to ask them in the crowd, now he didn't say, forgive Jimmy and Ted and Frank, but the rest of y'all Negroes, y'all go on to hell because, y'all some dirty. No. He didn't say that. He said, forgive them. Okay. So even though you probably have, if you would have taken a poll of the people in the crowd, they would say, but do you really know what you're doing right now? I mean, do you really intend to string him up? Yeah. Yes, I do. You know what I'm saying? Because it's blasphemous and blah, 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 blah. And so when he said, forgive them for they know not what they do, I'm going somewhere with this. He was talking about they don't really know who they are. Because if they really knew who they were, they wouldn't even be doing this. They wouldn't be doing this at all. Peter said this. He says, listen, and I'm going somewhere with the forgiveness piece. And this is about you forgiving yourself. Because a lot of you have a great deal of struggle with this. Peter says, well, listen, let me ask you something, Jesus. Now, I've got a partner that, I've loaned him some money. And, he likes them crap tables and, he will run into the casino and gambling. So I've forgiven the guy 7 times. The law says 7. I've met my requirement, my quota here. So what's the example? I mean, what am I supposed to do? So I'm sure that Peter was expecting, Jesus to maybe say something like, well, listen, if you've done that, man, shoot, let's put the smack down on him. He deserves what he get. But no, he didn't say that. He says, listen, well, forgive him 70 times 7. What? I mean, you're probably not going to take out a pen and paper and do the math on it. You just know that he just said something like, what? So are you saying no matter what he does, that I'm supposed to continue to just keep forgiving and forgiving and forgiving? What part of the equation is this? So I say this to say, are you still a diamond? Yes, you are. How many times should you forgive the things that you do? 70 times 7? Okay, because what you do, like I said last week, it does not change anything about who you are. What you do basically is going to give you a certain result. Now, that result you might not like, or that result you may be okay with. All right, like it does. You being a diamond, it doesn't care who likes you. It doesn't care who validates you. Validate yourself. Okay, for some of you, you're still maybe not convinced. And I will admit, what I'm saying to you, for a lot of people, this is, it's a very hard saying, as the scripture says. It's not an easy pill to swallow, because I'm asking you to do something that goes totally it flies in the face of maybe everything that you feel like you've been taught or what you believe right now. So I get that. It may take a little time. And my thing is this, if one person gets what I'm saying and you get free as a result, I don't care. It's well worth it. Okay, so let's keep it moving. All right, so now, one of the things about Jesus is he knew who the person was, aside from what they did. Because here's the problem that most of us have. We believe that the mistake we make, well, let me say this. The mistake that we make, it doesn't invalidate your true identity. Okay, so like I said, diamonds are still diamonds. So let me take it from another perspective. Let's look at your boy Judas. Okay, now Judas, last time I checked, he was one of the disciples. He was one of the 12. He was in that inner circle. All right. Now, what we do know about Judas is he was a thief. He was stealing for a long time. And what we also know about Judas, what we also know about Judas is that he was chosen by Jesus to be one of the 12. Now, here is, to me, this is a head scratcher. Why would you choose somebody to be in your inner 12 that he got sticky fingers, that he skims off the top? I guess for me, I don't understand how that really makes a lot of sense. Okay. And so not only did he steal, okay, and Jesus knew he was stealing the whole time, okay, and apparently that didn't disvalidate his qualifications to be in the 12, whatever. He also betrayed Jesus, okay, and that's the one he really gets the rap for. He really goes down in history as he betrayed him with a kiss, and y'all have heard songs and all of that. Well, here's the deal. Now, Judas, he saw Jesus as, the one that we waited for, and the Messiah and all of this. So he's thinking, well, listen, we'll force his hand. Okay, because I really believe once they come and they swoop down on him, then, he'll do his call down, angels and all of that. And then, we'll really take dominion over this whole situation. So I'm saying that to say that I think somewhere his motives were, he somehow he had maybe some good intentions. All right. So, because if you think he gave the money back, I don't want your money. And, he cried but he did kill himself because he couldn't get over the guilt. Because if you think about it, how is what Peter and the rest of them did? I mean, they didn't sell him out for money, but Peter denied him. He said, listen, I don't know the man. What? You know what I'm saying? Get your finger out of my face. I told you I don't know it. So, and he cried and he wept and all that. But I think the difference is we're talking about identity. We're talking about you knowing exactly who you are, you not limiting that to what you do. The difference is Judas associated what he did with who he was. He couldn't separate the two. And that guilt consumed him, and it ultimately destroyed him. Where he couldn't take living with himself any longer. That the only way he could see to stop the pain was to discontinue his life. Okay? Peter, who wept, all right, he wept very bitterly about the situation. Great deal of regret, because Peter had told Jesus, listen, I'm not going to leave you. I'm not going to do anything foul. We're talking about now doing some things that you never thought that you would do. Hello. Okay. But he did it. And Jesus said, man, listen, Peter, before the cock crows, man, and he tried to tell him. He said, listen, but Satan, the enemy desires to sift you as wheat, my friend. Okay. So Jesus already had the whole thing taken care of. He already knew what was going to go down. I'm sorry. That's my phone ringing. Okay. That's what happens on live TV. He already knew how the whole thing was going to go down, but nevertheless, he had already taken care of it. But it really wasn't about what Jesus was okay with. It was really about what Peter was okay with. See, it's not really about how God sees you. It's not really, but it's about how you see yourself. Because you can read in the scriptures all this amazing stuff about you, and it's easier for you to believe it for other people than it is for you to believe it about yourself. Oh, I can see how they can be blessed, or I can see how they can be forgiven, or you say to yourself, I can forgive them. But you can't allow yourself to have that same grace. And as long as you allow yourself to stay stuck in that box, you are denying yourself the greatness, first of all, that you are. You're denying yourself the great life that God wants you to have, that he has laid out for you. Okay. But let's keep going. And this is a message that I don't really care about. Well, first of all, I'm not trying to get people to shout and jump and do backflips, because you could do that and it don't mean that you really got any revelation about anything. It's just emotional stuff. But I pray that the Holy Spirit gives you revelation of what I'm talking about, because as you get that, then you can start to build on it, and you really can start to get out of that box that the enemy has you in. And I want to talk about that. So if you don't know the truth about who you are, then, because Jesus put it like this, you will know the truth and the truth will make you free. Then the opposite must be true. You will know a lie and you will continue to stay in bondage. Well, let's look at that. Living out a lie and staying in bondage. Okay, two scenarios. You look at the garden, Adam and Eve. Serpent comes by and says, hey, listen, what about that tree over there? Knowledge of good and evil. He says, well, no, we can't eat from that tree because God told us we shouldn't do that. That's truth. And Satan was like, no, I don't really believe it. I heard it like that. I believe really what he was saying was boop-de-boop-de-boop-de-boop. Lie. Okay. So she took it. She fell for it. And she ate. Adam ate. So that lie now has caused them to be in bondage. The lie of what? The lie of you don't even know who you are. I've told you that in order for you to be this, you have to do this. Performance. All right. Seeking approval. I want to be more like God. And, maybe that'll please him more. But you are already like God. You didn't have to do anything. You were put here already like God. You were made in his image and likeness already. Where you at? You was already this. So you trying to jump through all these hoops and hurdles. Okay. It's unnecessary. Okay, let's look at another example. All right, and Lord knows I'm not trying to preach nothing. I'm really just trying to give you truth. Period. That's all I'm trying to give you is just truth about who you are. Okay, like I said, if just one of you get it, I'm happy. So same situation. Satan comes to Jesus in the wilderness and basically says, hey man, listen, if you really are the Son of God, if you're really who you say you are, so now you want to attack my identity. Now you want to say, if I am who I think I am. Okay. And as far as men go, that's an ego thing right there. I'm just going to really cause me to rise up. And, but Jesus didn't fall for it. He said, okay, well, check this out. He says, for it is written, truth. Okay. That man shall not live by bread alone, but blah, 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 blah. Okay. So he hit him with truth because Jesus already knew who he was. I'm not going to jump through all these hoops and hurdles to prove to you anything because your opinion of me doesn't matter. It's not going to change anything. And if you can understand that people's opinion of you. Now, there are some people that because you've made a mistake, They'll hold that over your head. They'll beat up on you. Okay. Case in point, woman caught in adultery. Oh, we love this one. This is a good one. All right, so check this out. So now they said she was caught in adultery, caught in the very act. Now, I mean, we all grown here. You caught in the act of adultery. You know what that means, right? So everybody's got their rock. I got a rock somewhere. Yeah, everybody's got a rock, probably a lot bigger because, you know, the aim here is we're going to kill her. And Jesus said, listen, first of all, I'll be right back. He says, first of all, any of y'all that has not sinned before, you know, then please feel free, throw a rock. You know, party pooper, right? He definitely just killed the whole vibe in the room. Okay, so now everybody's got to drop their rocks, okay? Boo, Jesus, you know what I'm saying? Thought we was going to have a killing today. So then he tells her, now this is the money shot right here, right? He tells her, he says, go and sin no more. Duh. Now, what does that mean? Does that mean go and be perfect and never commit a sin and do anything, you know, that's going to have you out here? Well, I don't think it means go and be perfect. I mean, after all, we're talking about a guy who allowed somebody in his inner camp to steal, okay, continually. I believe what he was saying is don't go and do anything else that is going to have you to act outside of who you really are. That's going to cause you harm, okay? That's going to be outside the realm of your greatness, period. That's the only thing that he was really saying. Okay, because he had great compassion for her. He knew that she was living well beneath who she was. He knew she was living well beneath her identity. Okay, he didn't say that this thing that you have done, this adultery, has now changed your very makeup. You're good for nothing. You are the salt that has lost its savor. No, he didn't say that. He didn't say that at all. He said, Reverend, listen, just go and sin no more. All right, so with that being said, you're going to have some haters out here. You are going to have some people who basically are not going to want to see you or allow you to get out of what you've done. Because what it allows them to do is manipulate you. It allows them to control you. And if I can continue to keep you underfoot. Oh, remember you did that thing. Remember that? See, yeah, if you really knew God, you wouldn't have, well, that don't have anything to do with who you are. And see, those people, if you allow them to manipulate and to control you, they will always do it. If you and they really love doing it, it's the enemy, okay? They really love doing it to people who do not know who they are. Because they try to pimp Jesus. Yeah, they try to pimp him. They try to, why does your master, you know, associate with publicans and sinners? He said, because I want to. Now what? He gave him the Morris Day face. Yeah. I'm so stupid. I don't think Morris Day was in the scriptures. I don't. Or Jerome. And he told him, man, listen, I ain't on what y'all on. I really don't care what y'all think about me. I don't care how this looks. I don't care who you run and go tell. Ooh, y'all don't intimidate me. I'm not about to jump through no hoops and hurdles, you know what I'm saying, to be in y'all little clique, y'all little club. I don't care. And some of you say, well, but that was Jesus. He was perfect. And let me tell you something. If he that is in you is greater than he that is in the world. If you're made in his image and likeness, there should be some kind of boldness about who you are. There should be some kind of matter-of-factness about who you are. Look at David. David was off the meter. I mean, he was a freak. I mean, I don't know how else to really put it to you, you know, but he was a man after God's own heart. How do you reconcile the two? I mean, was he what he was doing? Is that who he was? Was that his identity? Nah. So I'm just going to wrap this up by saying, and forgive me for how long it is, because I really didn't mean to go this long, but who you are has absolutely nothing to do with what you do and who validates you. It doesn't. I'm sorry. Because, and I think I said this last week, doing things great doesn't make you great. But you do great things because you're great. People liking you doesn't make you great. But people like you because you're great. Okay? Because if you forget the order, if you get it twisted, then you'll be running around here trying to please people. You'll be running around here jumping through hoops, and I get that. A lot of that you got from your childhood. You were made to feel like your identity was nothing if you didn't perform at a high level. And I'm not telling you not to do your best. I mean, because once you get your true identity and realize that you are, why wouldn't you do your best? You realize that you're great, okay? So you're going to obviously do great things. But many of you were made to feel like you were nothing if you weren't performing. Many of you were made to feel like, as you were growing up, you were nothing if you didn't have someone's approval. Okay, you had to always be mindful of, because your parents were so concerned about what everybody thought about them. Okay, your parents were concerned about how they looked in everybody's eyes, and your parents were concerned about really more about how things looked than how things were. And so you inherited that mentality, and so subsequently you're living out that lie that the enemy is telling you, okay, which is totally the opposite of the truth. Because once you know the truth, it will make you free. There's freedom. If you don't feel free, then you are probably living in some significant bondage. And all you got to do is just accept it and embrace it. Now, I know that sounds simple, and there's a process to that because, you've been living this way for years. And now somebody like myself, crazy, is telling you, you don't have to live that way. But I will tell you this, if you do start to get free, people are still going to probably try, especially if they've been benefiting from you being bound. They're going to, you can't do that, you can't do that. Why can't I do that? God, you sound crazy. So anyway, and if you need help, as usual, this is what I do. Get at me, okay? I definitely can help you, okay? So hit me up, 30-minute free consult. We'll talk about what your situation is and put you on a program to get you free. You need to be free. I sense that. Now, I don't know who I'm talking to. I don't know who the Holy Spirit has me talking to. But like I said, you are amazing. You are great. I don't care what you've done. Have you done some things that, has caused some pain? Go to that person. Like if that person that got cheated on, they will need you to help them to get over that. Okay. Meaning if it's your spouse, then hey, listen, babe, we can talk about it. I'm sorry. What do you need? Okay. You need to do that. Hopefully if the relationship is still intact. You may be feeling guilty about a situation that you're no longer even a part of, okay? But your remorse even shows that you still have not moved past it, all right? So anyway, I'm done. I know it's a little heavy, but that's just where the Holy Spirit has me right now. This thing about you're great no matter what. Because I just don't think people realize that. I just don't think they do. So in my upcoming messages, I'm sure that this theme will be interwoven in there. In bits and pieces, because even the theme about you loving yourself, it's very hard for you to love yourself when you feel like who you're loving is not worthy of love. So yeah, but anyway, good stuff. All right, listen, enjoy your day, enjoy your week. If there are any questions that you have, like this came from someone that just shot me an email. I thought it was an amazing question, an amazing topic, and I addressed it. So if there's anything that you want to ask me, it may get addressed in the video. So all right, take care, be blessed. I'm out. Peace.